That was fun, wasn't it? UFC 239.
Crazy.
I cannot wait to talk about this. So much went down at UFC 239, and that's what we're going to talk about today, as well as the upcoming card this coming weekend. But Jorge Masvidal knocked out Ben Askren in a historic 5-second knockout, and a lot more happened. Jon Jones retained his title by the skin of his teeth, as well as Amanda Nunes becoming, or at least cementing, her crown as the best fighter in the world on the female side. So let's talk about it. Let's get right into it. UFC 239 went down on the weekend, and it was a barn burner of a card. When I woke up on Sunday, I didn't watch the card. So when I woke up on Monday today, and I was like, I cannot wait to talk about these fights.
Yeah.
This was an excellent card. Some might have some problems with the main event. So what we're going to do is we're not going to start with the main event. We're going to go back a little bit, and we're going to talk about what most people are talking about today. And that was Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren. We're going to talk about the full card because there was some huge highlights in this, and I want to get into it. But I want to start with Jorge Masvidal knocking out Ben Askren in 5 seconds with a flying knee. It was incredible. I loved it. Not because I have anything against Ben Askren. I just loved the moment. It was amazing. But when this happened and when you were watching, what was your initial reaction and thoughts?
So I first seen the Askren one. I was out on Saturday night. The fight card was ongoing, and I was in a taxi home, and I was following on Twitter.
Half pissed?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was following on Twitter, and I was like, because I can't do the whole leave it till the next morning thing.
I could do it.
I can't.
I have a talent for it.
I seen it, and I was like, what the fuck? And then the clips obviously came up, and I was like, oh my god. Shivers, like shivers. He proper planked. He proper put him stiff. He didn't
stiff as a board.
It wasn't one of those ones where you crumple. He sent him stiff. Like, it was scary.
It was crazy. So this was the only fight that I knew the result of before I went in. So I saw it and I watched it because I had to.
Didn't take long to watch it.
But man, this was you know what? It was the most unexpected result. Not result. Unexpected. Well, yeah, you can say result or method.
Yeah.
But that's what was expected, I thought. Like, when you were looking at this card, we went through the whole thing and we gave predictions and we broke down the fights. And this was the one where when we came to it, and what I found when I was listening to other people talking about it, when they came to this fight, they were like, I don't know how this goes.
I probably wrote Masvidal off a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Like, Ben just shot straight away.
Yeah.
It's very one-dimensional.
Yeah. But that's what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Ben Askren does.
Yeah.
And that could have been effective if Masvidal wasn't so slick. And that's one of the things we were talking about. Masvidal is slick. And it's something that he obviously planned, because if you were watching the videos that they put out, they did talk about this. And I don't know if you've seen it. Dustin Poirier put a tweet out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I seen it.
Where he said, like, Mike Brown, sent me this text saying that he was going to open up with a flying knee. But yeah, I thought this was the most unexpected finish on the card, because I really didn't know what was going to happen, and I felt like it was going to be something like this. Not a flying knee or anything like that. Like, I didn't think something specific, but something crazy. I didn't think it was going to go how we all felt it was going to go. Like, I mean, remember the Robbie Lawler fight? Yeah. Like, I thought if Ben Askren was going to win, like, I know I picked him to win using his wrestling, and for the people who thought that was crazy, you're an idiot, because that's what Ben Askren does, and he's been successful. But I thought he was going to win that way, but deep down I thought if Ben Askren was going to win, he was probably going to be pieced up and he's probably going to catch a choke or something. Yeah. You know, something similar to the Robbie Lawler fight, because it was just one of them fights where it was so explosive. So when Jorge Masvidal landed it, I was like, that was going to happen, or something like that, you know.
Utter violence. Yeah. And then the two shots he landed after, they were hard shots. Yeah. They were nasty.
So let's talk about that. There's a lot to break down in this fight, I think, because you could probably do the whole show talking about this fight.
Yeah, and it was only a 5 second fight.
And in 5 seconds, and there's so much to talk about. Was that unnecessary? Okay, did you like that? And was it unnecessary?
Did I like it? No.
Okay.
Was it?
What we're talking about, is the shots after the bell, just so people.
Did I like it? No. Am I totally against it? No. The ref hadn't stopped it, so it's on the fighter or it's on the ref to stop it. He didn't throw anything after the ref stopped it, so I'm okay with that. Yeah. I don't personally like seeing someone stiffed out like that getting shots, but fight hadn't been stopped, so it was unnecessary. Yeah, it was unnecessary, but you have to understand where Jorge Masvidal's coming with this. He's one of those guys who, this isn't a game, this is life for him. He's similar to Nate Diaz, except that he actually fights.
Or Diaz, yeah, it's brilliant, well done.
As in, this is their life. This is how they roll. He said Leon Edwards got the 3-piece in the soda, and then he said Ben Askren got the full buffet.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
But was it unnecessary? It was. Fight hadn't been stopped. So
yeah, my thing with it is that, like, I don't know, someone tweeted this and I do agree with it, is that we kind of saw this with the Khabib Nurmagomedov Conor McGregor stuff, and it was similar in a way, not illegal though. Like what Khabib did was illegal. He done some crazy shit after the bell, but this wasn't illegal. But we kind of saw this same thing where one guy is the promoter and probably doesn't really believe a lot of the stuff that he says. He's doing it to promote the fight, and I think Ben Askren might admit that. Maybe Conor's a little bit different, but Jorge Masvidal and Khabib and maybe Nate, they don't really play into that. And when you insult them, they're taking that as a personal attack. Especially, as Jorge said, is if you do it online and you don't really do it in person, and it's more so like he just sees it as a fake thing. Yeah. So, like, an example I would say is if you go back and look at Jorge Masvidal versus Darren Till, he was incredibly respectful after that when he knocked him out. Because he felt like Darren Till wasn't disrespecting him. I'm not saying that's the reason why this was right. I didn't agree with him landing the shots after the bell because he didn't have to do it. It wasn't illegal. The referee didn't pull him off. So like it's not like a dirty shot really. Kind of is, but not. But I understand why he done it, and I understand where he's coming from. It's not something I would do, but we have to understand that our fighters like this.
Yeah, it's not something I want to see too often, but I understand where Jorge is coming from. He said it after in the post-fight presser. He was like, this ain't a game to me. This is why I don't talk shit, because someday someone's going to catch up with me that can beat the fuck out of me.
He's a bad dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, he's an absolute bad motherfucker. I asked this at the top of the show. Should Jorge Masvidal get the next title fight?
I think should is a very difficult question in the welterweight division. I think if he did, would I be angry? No, probably not. Absolutely not, to be honest. Do
you feel like a hypocrite saying that? Because I feel a bit of a hypocrite saying that, because that's my answer too.
Yeah, I do, but I don't feel it's my fault that I'm being a hypocrite. I feel the UFC have fucked the welterweight division. Yeah,
they have. They've ruined your perspective of title fights. Yeah, I wouldn't be hugely against it, and like I could easily say to myself that I'm a hypocrite because I've probably been against something like this before. Because if you look at Jorge Masvidal's record, he's on a 2-fight winning streak. He has some losses that weren't overly impressive, but there's something about Jorge right now that, one, he's just beat 2 top ranked guys. Ben Askren was very, very close to a title fight. He probably would have got it if he won this fight. And Darren Till
coming off a title shot,
and it was, both of them were devastating. So like recently and on recent form, like he does deserve it. Does he deserve it over someone like Colby Covington? Probably not, but Colby Covington hasn't fought in over a year.
The thing is here as well, Jorge's not going to come out now campaigning massively for a title shot. It's not his style. He's very selective. I was saying this to you before, I think a lot of guys need to do a lot more in the media to promote themselves, but I think Jorge does sort of just the right amount. He's very selective at what he does, and it plays very well into his persona. He doesn't need to do a massive amount. I think Jorge winning is very good for Colby, because I think if Ben had won, then it was going to be Ben. Colby's obviously fighting Robbie Lawler now on August 3rd. He's pissed off someone in the UFC there to take that fight on short notice. The timelines match up very well for either the winner of that fight or Jorge to get it. If Jorge gets skipped, I'm not sure he gets the one after that.
That's the thing. That's the reason why I feel like I wouldn't mind it, because there's some guys, and we'll talk about, say, Jon Jones later on, who Jon Jones is incredible because he can be so good over such a long period of time. And Jorge Masvidal has been very, very good and so good over a long period of time, but he has those little blips in there where he's losing fights. And I feel with some guys like Jorge, when they get into a purple patch like this, you kind of have to pull the trigger on them and just go with it. Like from a promotional perspective, like Jorge Masvidal probably won't be as popular as he's ever going to be ever again. Yeah. Like right now, like this is his most popular time. This is when, if you're going to give him a title fight, you give it to him right now while he's in this. And if he wins it, fair enough, excellent. We'll see what happens. He might lose to somebody else.
Give him the Leon Edwards fight as his first title defense.
Yeah, if Leon gets there. But there is something to be said about that, where sometimes you just need to pull the trigger on fighters, and like putting him against some really, really tough fighters now as like a number one contender fight, you might kind of kill that. Yeah. And I understand from a sport perspective that's fine, and for the most part that's what I'm for. But I really wouldn't be against it. Yeah,
I'm just thinking on the fly here. So they're not going to make any decisions until Colby and Robbie fight.
Most likely.
Yeah. So if Robbie wins, he's not getting a title shot because he's 1-1 in his last two.
That'll open the doors.
Then it's Jorge.
Has to be.
So if it's Colby, then you have a little race between the two. I don't know who. Well, Colby isn't that liked in the UFC. No, not that liked anywhere really. No. I think he's a prick.
What does better?
I'm not sure, because
I think Masvidal does better.
I'm not sure because Colby's going to talk a lot more smack.
Yeah.
And Jorge won't. But I think Jorge is the more well-known fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, Jorge's an OG. Am I right in saying he headlined Bellator 1? I
don't know. Well, maybe actually.
I seen that on Twitter at the weekend.
I'll Google that.
I think.
He was on the Bellator 1 card.
Yeah.
Let me see if he headlined that. Holy shit, great show. He did. Eddie Alvarez was on that card.
That's a real OG though.
Real OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am just thinking on the spot here. I'd like to see him get it. I think he should get it.
I think that Jorge Masvidal and whoever, so say if it's Usman, likely he's not going to fight in between. I think that does better, because I'm not sure if Colby, I think what Colby's doing is good for him right now. I think he's gaining momentum in terms of getting his name out there. Like, say what you will about his shtick, you might not like it. I don't necessarily like it, but I do think he's getting his name out there. But I just think that right now, after that, everybody's talking about Jorge Masvidal after a big card like that. Mm-hmm. You heard Dana White talking about how well this event potentially done, and trust Dana White or not. But I do think this event done pretty well. There seems to be a lot of people talking about it. So if he's the crown jewel of this card, with Jon Jones at the top, a lot of people are going to buy to watch Jon Jones, and now he's the guy who everybody's talking about. I think he's probably one of the more popular contenders right now, and he does have a bit of a Nate Diaz feel about him. He's not going to come out and talk a lot of shit, but he does have the Nate Diaz feel of, this is a real fighter, I want to see him go. So I think that fight probably does better than a Colby Usman fight, because Colby Usman, there'll be a lot of shit talk, but it's going to be a lot of fake shit talk, I think.
Yeah, I was just looking to see there if I could get... Jorge was the one who was trending after that fight on Twitter. If you go online, Jorge was the one who was trending. It wasn't Amanda was up there, obviously. We'll talk about that in a bit. John wasn't really the one. It was all Jorge Masvidal. Mm-hmm. And I think he talks very well when he does talk. He's one of the people listen when he talks. Yeah, people listen because he doesn't talk all that often. If you watch him on Rogan, he's very interesting. And I was listening to something during the week. He's been on a retreat recently.
Yes, he was in a show, a thing show. Where he had no phone and stuff.
Nothing. So he was just hooked away on his own for a little bit of time. Yeah, with his own thoughts, and that seems to be where the transformation has come from. And it's really interesting to see now what his next fight is, and how, because now you are kind of wondering how high is his ceiling, because he seems to have realised, okay, I'm actually very fucking good here. Yeah. So it is kind of wondering now how, for a long time you would have assumed he's done as much as he's going to do. Yeah. He's not going to go on a big title run, but you are kind of wondering now how high is his ceiling.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that kind of plays into the thing of, I think he's a great fighter with points where he loses fights that he probably shouldn't have lost. So I think you kind of have to pull the trigger with these type of guys. Ben Askren, where does that leave Ben Askren? I heard a few people saying he might retire. Do you think he's going to retire? Considering that he was retired before he got to the UFC, now he's had this devastating loss. Do you think he'll retire, or do you think that's just a bit too premature to kind of say?
I don't think he will. I think the retirement in one was because it wasn't a retirement because of age as such, or how long he'd been going. I think it was as much just that he was kind of bored of one as much as anything, and he needed a new challenge. He's got that in the UFC. There's still plenty of fights there for him. Yeah. There's plenty of fights. Everyone calls him out. Yeah. So I'd be surprised if he retired, to be honest. Would you?
I don't know about surprised. I don't think he will. I think he'll keep going. Again, as you said, there's still plenty of fights there from him. His contract seems to be fairly good. I'd say he's making a decent amount of money, so there's that. And I think he is a competitor, so I think he will want to get one back. I don't think he'd want to go out that way. It was devastating, so you never know. But yeah, I don't think he'll retire. A few other things on Ben Askren. He did come out and say that in a reply to a tweet about him getting slagged and stuff after the fight, you know, how cruel it was. Somebody said that about him, and he came back and he said, well, I probably deserved it anyway.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
you know, done.
I don't think he's a guy to take the stuff from Jorge afterwards badly. No. I think he is one of those guys who just talks a lot of shit to promote the fight, and he just met his match in Jorge, who wanted to fuck him up. It was interesting actually as well, listening to Jorge say, if I meet him in the shop, I'm going to slap him up.
Yeah.
It's not a game.
It's not a game to him.
He's not a guy to mess with.
Yeah. A few other things. I just read there that there is people commenting on Ben Askren's wife's Instagram, giving her shtick and giving Ben stick, saying like, is your husband still alive and all this shit? Lads, cut that out. That's bullshit. Man. Get a fucking life. But yeah, we could talk about that fight all day, every day.
There's so much ramifications from that fight.
There is. Yeah, there is. But we'll have to move on because we'll be stuck here. We're going to talk about the next fight on the card, and also probably the next highlight. It was Amanda Nunes knocking out Holly Holm. Actually, Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren, in case you didn't know, fastest knockout in UFC history. I'm not sure if we said that. Yeah, Amanda Nunes knocks out Holly Holm in the first round by a head kick KO. The same technique that made Holly Holm famous in a way against Ronda Rousey, and something that she put to use. What was your thoughts on Amanda Nunes' performance?
I was very high on Amanda pre-fight.
Yeah,
they're higher. She is the baddest woman of all time. She's the baddest woman alive on this planet right now, and she's the baddest woman of all time. No question. I don't want to hear any questions about it.
But I'm joking.
Yeah, if you look at her body of work, she's fucked up. Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg, and Ronda Rousey.
Chris Cyborg, like.
And if you add up the times, it's just over a round.
Yeah.
Just over a round, and she fucked up three of the baddest women of all time.
Yeah, it's insane. The thing about Amanda and what I feel is so impressive now is that, like, looking at that, look at all the greens in Tapology, all them green W's.
It's insane.
The thing I find most impressive is something that I mentioned on last week's show, is that this is kind of the point where they fall. You know, when they're all like, she's the best, she's the greatest of all time, double champ, she's never going to lose. And this is kind of the time where I was like, oh, fuck. This is usually when they fall, when they get caught with something. And Amanda looked perfect in there.
Yeah.
I didn't see, like, I was expecting, you know, maybe we'll see some holes, maybe we'll see some something she has to work on. There's probably some stuff there, you know. I'm sure her coaches saw some stuff, but she looked perfect. She looked really good. It's just so impressive, the run that she's on.
I mean, if you go through that run of wins she's on, the only contentious ones that you can even pick holes at are the Valentina ones. They're the only ones.
Yeah.
That's maybe the only fight that is of any interest to me at the minute with her. Maybe the Cyborg rematch. But I just don't see who beats her at the minute. And right now,
it seems to be all rematches now. Yeah,
right now I favour Amanda in both those rematches.
Yeah. I'd like to see what Aspen Ladd can do. We'll talk about her a little bit later, but I think it's too early for her just yet.
How clean was the kick as well? She just caught her with the flat. Oh, it was so clean. Yeah,
it was so clean. It was an excellent performance. Holly Holm, I wouldn't mind. Holly Holm looked good in the fight.
Yeah,
and she was fighting the fight that I thought she could fight if she had some success. She was fighting at range and landing some good shots. But you were saying Luke Thomas was talking about how she was biting on the feints a lot, and that's one thing I noticed where like if you watch the finish, she bit on a huge feint and her foot was in the air and she wasn't in position to take that head kick. And I thought that's what Amanda done really, really well. Just looking at the rankings here, I'm trying to find the rankings. So you have Aspen Ladd there, Jermaine, the Randamie. Yeah, like I'm not sure who else really.
Dana did say it. Dana who doesn't matchmake after fights obviously, but Dana did say the Chris Cyborg rematch is one they look to do. Yeah,
I like the Chris Cyborg one because it was so quick.
Yeah.
So in theory, like maybe that won't go the same way. We don't know. Like Cyborg is still an excellent fighter, so I would like to see that. To be honest, I would. It would be a good fight. I'd like to see it again. Let's talk about the main event. Jon Jones defeated Thiago Santos by split decision. I don't think anybody predicted a split decision by Jon Jones. One thing I hate, pet peeve. when somebody says, even fighters do it, I don't understand it, when they say that fight shouldn't have been, or it should have been a split decision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense, because it means that I feel that one judge should have got that wrong.
Yeah, it's a weird one to say.
Yeah, stop saying that, because it makes no sense. But anyway, I digress. Jon Jones beat Thiago Santos by split decision. How did you score it?
I didn't watch it with my scoring head on, but as they got to the 5th round, I sort of went back and I was like, okay, I'm giving Santos round 1. Round 2, I think, is the decider. I gave Jones 3 and 4, and I gave Santos 5 clearly. 2, I think, is the one where you're a bit like, I was actually chatting to a guy in the office here, and he was saying 10 rounds need to be a thing.
Yeah. I understand it. I understand why people wouldn't want it as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably give it to Santos.
So would I.
Yeah, but I can't argue a 48-47 to Jones. A very close fight. I
was fine with the decision, but when it ended, I thought to myself, am I crazy? I think I scored it to Santos. I think Santos won that fight. We'll talk about the fight itself, but I know Dana White came out and called everybody idiots who scored that fight to Santos.
He said you should never score a fight again if you scored to Santos, and that's promoter speak for thank fuck Santos didn't win because he's Brazilian and can't speak a word of English.
Fucking right it is. Dana White's a dope sometimes. I don't even think he was watching that fight. Nah. Like, for you to come out and say that
he clearly won 2 of the rounds.
Yeah. What did Okamoto say? Yeah, Okamoto said, like, Dana White said whoever scored that for Santos would never judge a fight again, and then there was an awkward silence, and he was like, I scored it for Santos. Apparently I read as well on Reddit that like 60% of people on some forum scored it to Santos, so it seemed like that's where it was going. Yeah. I don't mind that, as I said. It was a close fight. If you score to Jones, even if you scored 4 rounds to Jones, there was some really close rounds in there, it's fine.
It's a tough one because Jones was throwing, to get a bit more technical on it, he was throwing a lot of single shots. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of combo work. He was on his bike. That 5th round, he got on his bike. He was on the move a lot. You have to have some confidence that you've got those early rounds. I had it. What would I have had it then? I'd have had it 2-2, yeah, going into the 5th. You have to have a lot of confidence that you're up on the scorecards there to go in and get on your bike like you did in the 5th round.
Yeah. So the fight itself, I thought personally that Thiago Santos fought a great fight. Brilliant thought he had a game plan that I didn't think he'd be able to implement. And what I mean by is that what I saw is that Thiago Santos had to be at a few different ranges and had to fight in a certain way to win this fight. He had to be all the way out or all the way in, and when he was all the way out and when he was all the way in, he had to be aggressive, because if you've seen when they got into the clinch situation, Thiago Santos was very aggressive, and what happened was Jon Jones couldn't get the clinch because he was afraid of those big shots in the pocket, and he moved back out of range. And then when he were all the way out, Santos was landing huge leg kicks, and Jon Jones could barely get his rangy attacks that he usually does get going. Now, he got them in the 3rd round, I think, is where he had most of his success. But when he was at range, Thiago Santos was still aggressive. The difference between this one and, say, the Anthony Smith one, where they both fought a similar fight, I thought, but Anthony Smith just didn't throw and he wasn't aggressive enough when he was in those ranges. But like, if you watch that fight and go rewatch it, anytime they entered the pocket, Thiago Santos threw hard, and you could see Jon Jones back out and go on his bike straight away. He didn't want to be in there at all. Yeah,
I think we didn't really learn a lot about Jon. I wasn't that impressed with him in this fight.
Neither was I.
But bar his chin, holy fuck, he's got a chin, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
He has a big chin. He ate some shots. He ate some outrageous shots from Santos. Yeah. I'd love to see if Santos' left leg hadn't gone.
Yes.
What could have happened?
I don't know why, but the commentary did annoy me during this fight just because they kept bringing it up. And I know it was a big component to the fight. Yeah. But like, it just seemed like that was all they talked about. It's like, his leg is hurt, his leg is hurt. It's like, I know.
But he kept throwing it, so it obviously wasn't a massive hindrance. But it would be interesting to see what would have happened if. Yeah. But I think we saw a lot with Jones, and his risk management in this fight was very odd. It was odd. And I'm interested to see how he looks going forward. And I know a big target of his is to get to 20 title defenses.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
He's very hesitant now.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to, lose an inch. He doesn't want to give an inch to anybody. And that's kind of how he fought. He fought very, very risk averse, I thought. And to a fault. Yeah, very defensively. And I just didn't... I thought Thiago Santos was just the more effective fighter. Yeah. I thought he landed the better shots. Jon Jones' defense was good. He didn't get hit a whole lot. But I just thought Thiago Santos put on a really good performance for him, and I'm not sure if he'll ever get another title fight, even though he put on that good performance.
He won't. He's 35 now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I thought, was it the third round, I think, where Jones looked like he might get him out of there. He piled on a bit of pressure. Didn't get him out of there. I think that's probably where he landed a few, and he was like, I'm going to have to properly unload here to get him out, and he just decided against it in case he walked on to something. It's interesting to see how Jon looks going forward now. And I think that risk management, risk averseness could be something that might stop him going to heavyweight. Yeah.
Does it make you more interested now in some of the other contenders in the division? Now, there's not that many, but let's say, for example, if Daniel Cormier was to rematch Jon Jones, does the performance from Thiago Santos and Jon Jones seemingly, not seemingly, but just not looking great in the fight, does that open the door now for you to say, okay, I'm ready to watch Daniel Cormier fight again, and maybe he'll put on a better performance?
The Jones DC one is, we just all want to see that again.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the outcome is any different because I just feel like Jon might have DC's number.
Yeah.
Other fights, like Johnny Walker in a couple of fights potentially, even the Stipe fight at heavyweight are interesting fights because Jon hasn't fought Stipe before or Johnny Walker. I do just feel he has DC's number. Yeah,
I'd love to hear people's opinion on this as well. If you comment down below,
you could talk about this one all day.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion because I do feel like Jon Jones, if you take some of his attributes away, his size, his length, not take it away, but at least match it or even match it to an extent, I think he loses some. So, like, a move to heavyweight, I understand now why he didn't suddenly just move to heavyweight.
It's not something he's ever talked about that much.
No, he said he would, but he's never obsessed about it. And I kind of understand why. Maybe this is something he knows he has a problem with. So if he does move to heavyweight at some point, that could be very intriguing because for a long time people were saying once Jon Jones moves to heavyweight, it's going to be a walk in the park because guys at heavyweight generally are less technical. And Jon Jones is very technical, but it seems like when guys are huge punchers, and this is why I would have loved to see Anthony Rumble Johnson fight Jon Jones back in the day, it seems like Jon Jones does get a bit hesitant, and stuff like this can happen. And this was a really close fight. He got past this by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, I'm not saying Fabio for me to call Jon Jones or say Jon Jones is declining. We don't know. We don't know. He's 31 now. He hasn't a massive amount of miles on the clock, because he's been quite inactive for periods, and even this run of fights now he's had, they haven't been particularly taxing on him either.
No,
they haven't been very tough fights. Not tough as in they've been tough, but as in they're not putting miles on the clock.
Probably put more miles on his body than fights.
I think it's interesting to see how he looks going forward. He's 31. He's been fighting at a very high level, the highest level for pretty much all of his career. What age was he when he beat Shogun for the title?
24.
Exactly. Is the youngest UFC champion ever. Maybe. So he's been fighting at the highest level for a long time. That puts miles on the clock. So yeah, it's just going forward. I'm interested.
Very interested. Let's not take away from him. Like, it's very difficult. It's very difficult what he has been doing. Going on this run. Like, MMA is chaotic, and for you to go on a run like this is insane, and not to get caught. So fair play to you, Jon Jones, but I thought you lost that fight.
And he got to win. At the end of the day, he got to win.
He got to win. Yeah, I've no problem with the decision.
He got to win. So we sound a bit down. I sound a bit downbeat about him, but he got to win. So who am I to question it?
Exactly. Yeah, and judges. Jan Blachowicz knocked out Luke Rockhold in the second round. Huge left hook, ground and pound. A lot of people were enjoying this, I thought. I didn't quite enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed the fight, and it was a great finish. But, like, I think a lot of people thought this was a bit of a comeuppance for Luke Rockhold. Man, what was your thoughts on this fight?
I don't personally get a lot of it. I enjoy sick finishes, but I don't personally take much joy in who
exactly
is finished.
Who it
is, what a sick finish. Yeah. He fucked him up. Yeah. And we were saying off air, it's not particularly like Blachowicz. I know they're all big punches at 205. Blachowicz isn't a guy you'd be particularly calling out as a massive puncher.
Yeah, he's more of a grappler than a striker than anything. Like, I mean, he has some striking. We saw it. He's a good striker, but he's more of a grappler. Like, that's where he does his best work.
The thing was, I've said this before, fighters often make excuses for taking losses, and weight is the number one excuse. I think a lot of people gave Luke a break for the weight, saying it was he was a bit chinny at the 185 because of the weight. I think now we've seen that it probably wasn't. He did get hit a lot. He does get hit a lot, and I think that's the issue, not the weight as such.
Do you know what I think it is, right? Is that like, if you get hit by a light heavyweight, a 205 pound guy, and probably 220 pounds or 215 pounds by the time you get in the cage, it's probably going to knock you out if you aren't in a defensively sound position. And what I think with Luke Rockhold is that, and a lot of people have said this, is that he's either too cocky in the cage, because you see guys who are really cocky outside the cage. For example, Conor McGregor. He's probably one of the most cockiest people you'll ever see outside the cage. But when he fights, he doesn't fight like somebody who's that cocky, meaning defensively he won't put himself in a really poor position. Now, he fights technical, he respects his opponent in there, and that's why he fights. I feel sometimes when Luke Rockhold goes in there, he almost brings his arrogance into the cage with him. And what I saw in this fight was him fight with his hands down, when we know that Luke Rockhold shouldn't be fighting with his hands down.
No.
He needs to fight with his hands up.
Yeah.
We saw him put himself into really weird positions. Like when they were standing up, like you have like things in BJJ called like technical stand-ups, where you basically stand up with your hand out and your hand back, you're basically blocking yourself. And in MMA you have similar things. When you're standing up and you're standing up together in a clinch, you put yourself in a certain position not to get hit. And sometimes Luke Rockhold either just forgets that, doesn't do it because he doesn't respect the other guy. I don't know what it is, but when he got caught with that shot, he should have been in a much more defensively sound position. His feet were all over the place, and then he just got cracked. And it wasn't the biggest shot in the world. As you said, Blachowicz isn't the biggest puncher in the world, but he was completely out of position, got hit, got dropped, and got finished. I don't know what it is with Luke Rockhold. He just, going into it even, like he was talking about how like, this is the only guy we could get, he's not that good, I'm just going to beat him. Like, I understand being cocky, but don't bring that into the cage with you.
When he went to the ground, or when he fell after that, when he was knocked over,
and he done the Undertaker thing.
He looked like he was on another planet.
Yeah.
His world was fucked up.
Yeah.
It was a vicious knockout. It was one that adds a lot of miles onto the clock. And I know Dana said he needs to retire. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Needs to retire. I think he could have said that about some other guys, Dana. And yeah, we don't want to talk about Dana too much being like that, because he did do some good work with like Chuck Liddell, getting him to retire and stuff. But like, I don't completely disagree with Dana White. Like, I mean, Luke Rockhold does have a career outside the cage. He's a model. Taking punches like that probably doesn't help you with that venture. So like, I'm not too against it, because like Luke Rockhold at this point, he's probably making quite a bit of money. And
it's the face of a Ralph Lauren campaign.
Yeah. And even in the cage, like he's probably on a pretty good contract. And like, where does he go? Is he gonna really fight for a title anytime soon or ever? I don't think so. Do you really want to see Luke Rockhold fight the lower level guys at 205? Not really. So yeah, I understand it.
Personally, I don't think he needs to retire. I think there is fights there from. I think he can win some fights at 205.
Yeah, I agree.
Would I like to see him retire? Yeah, I would. I don't think he needs to continue fighting, because he's making a lot of money modelling, and who wants to get punched in the face for a living when you can make that much money modelling? Yeah. Make
money off your face, not getting punched in it. That's what I always say. Weird. Jan Blachowicz though, he was ranked, let me see, we'll get the UFC rankings up. Jan Blachowicz was ranked number 6. He might jump a spot, even though Luke Rockhold wasn't technically ranked, but that's the way the UFC rankings work. So he might jump up a spot, probably to 5 or 4. And he's not too far away from a title fight, because if you look at the rankings, you have Daniel Cormier, who we don't know what's going to happen there. Thiago Santos, they're not running that back. Anthony Smith, they're not going to run that back just yet. Dominic Reyes, I think too early in his career. Alex Gustafsson, he's finished pretty much. Interesting to see where he goes. Good win for him.
Because John did say December is when he wants to fight next, and that lines up quite nicely for a DC or a heavyweight fight.
I'd like to see the DC one. Michael Chiesa, we won't go too much into this. Beat Diego Sanchez, put an absolute beating on them. Just a grappling, just masterclass, I thought. And Diego Sanchez is a fucking great grappler.
Yeah.
Like, he's a really good grappler. When he started in MMA and when he had his first UFC bouts, he was winning all his fights through grappling. So to see Michael Chiesa do this, very, very impressive. People have to remember that. But Diego Sanchez coming into this fight was training with some witch doctor. I don't know what the fuck was going on.
Diego's crazy, man. You see some of his interviews during the fight week.
Fucking bizarre.
He's crazy. And then his coach is the exact same. They are a match made in heaven.
His coach is like not even a mind coach. It's like a positivity coach or something like that. Apparently he had no actual coach in his corner. Jon Jones after the fight still thought he was training in Jackson Wink, which I thought was hilarious. He was like, oh, my teammates lost. I was like, John, Diego doesn't train in Jackson Wink anymore. Open your eyes. But yeah, I just thought that was a bit weird. This is another guy, like, he didn't take a huge beating. Like, he took a beating, but like, it wasn't like being knocked out.
Wasn't a vicious beating.
Yeah, but he has so many miles on his body, and I'd like to see Diego call it a day, if I'm honest.
Probably won't though.
Probably won't. Arnold Allen put on an absolutely phenomenal performance against Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert looked like he lost a couple of steps being off for a while, but let's not take anything away from Arnold Allen. Brilliant performance. Can't wait to see him in there again. Did you?
I haven't seen that one, no.
Yeah, go check that one out. That was good.
Song Yadong.
Yadong, your boy Song Yadong. I love a bit of Yadong. Weird.
Don't say that.
Yeah, someone's gonna cut that. But yeah, man, if it wasn't for Edmund Shabazian, who we'll talk about in a second, Song Yadong was probably the guy to really break out on the card. Beautiful right cross, devastating finish, lovely.
Yeah, and I think Song Yadong was...
It's a great name.
It's a fantastic name. It sounds like a nickname.
It does, yeah.
He was close to the Olympic boxing team, am I right?
He might have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was. Who's in his corner, do you know?
I don't know.
I know who's in his corner. Who? It's Ronda Rousey's old coach.
Oh, in Shabazian.
Oh, is that Shabazian?
That was Shabazian, yeah, Shabazian, yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was Song Yadong.
Yeah, no.
Hey, movement.
Hey, movement. Do you know who's in Song Yadong's corner, I think?
Who?
Uriah Faber.
Oh.
I think he might have went to Team Alpha Male. Interesting.
Oh, okay.
But that team seems to be
that makes me
falling
feel a lot better about
Yeah.
Song Yadong. He was going nowhere with the other guy.
Although Edmund Shabazian is on an absolute tear with Edmund Tarverdian in his corner. But yeah, Song Yadong looked amazing. Can't wait to see him again.
Phenomenal overhand.
Woo. And Shabazian looked wonderful against your boy, Jack Marshman. You know, left the army.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't go well for him.
No, it didn't.
I like Jack Marshman,
like
but
him.
Edmund looked...
Yeah, he looked brilliant.
Looked brilliant. And the rest of the card was okay.
He needs to get rid of Tavarian, though.
Yeah, I know. Excellent card.
Brilliant card.
Excellent card. Yeah. I wonder what it done on BT pay-per-view. I don't know. But yeah, let us know what you think about the card, your thoughts on all the fights that we talked about, and we'll move on.
Yeah, we had some really good interactions in the comments last week, so do let us know around a lot of the talking points.
Yeah, for sure. My laptop froze for a second, so that's why I was... Javier Mendez wants Khabib Nurmagomedov to fight Nate Diaz, of all people, after their UFC 239 altercation. Did you see this, Sean?
Yeah, I did.
They had a bit of an altercation backstage. Not backstage, it was in the crowd. They were both attending the event, and for some reason they were both seemingly sitting very close to each other. It was Khabib, Ali, of course, and the rest of their team. And Nate Diaz was walking through. There seemed to be a bit of a kind of altercation. It was more of a verbal altercation type thing.
Ali hanging around like a bad smell. And
I wouldn't mind, right? It was mostly Ali. Like, it seemed like Nate went past and probably said something to them, acting the bollocks, like.
Yeah.
But it seemed like Ali was the one that stood up. We might actually have the video in
I'm
a second.
putting it on screen now.
If it's on screen, great stuff. But here it is. Here is it. Let's see. If you're listening, we will narrate it. So here
there is no the noise. It's just the crowd. But yeah.
So there's Nate walking past. He's obviously saying stuff to him. Can't hear it. But here we go. Watch. It's Ali Abdelaziz stands up.
Ali, man.
Just sit down, like.
Sit down, you prick. Khabib just looks like saying talk.
I wouldn't mind. It wasn't like the same between Khabib, but is that Islam Makhachev?
Yeah,
I think it would be Islam. It was more between Islam and Nate. Like, Nate is like, or Khabib is somewhere in the back there. You can't even see him. Look at all the lads with their
phones. We'll
phones.
start that again because I want to see what started it.
I'm pretty sure it was Nate saying something.
Nate's walking by. He walks by Islam. It doesn't look like he's saying that to Khabib yet.
No. And there's Ali standing
Ali
up.
stands up like what a tosser. Thinks he's a fighter, doesn't he?
Yeah. Now the lad stand up. So it looks like I think that's Islam Makhachev. It did actually look like he was going to throw a punch. Not me, Islam. But I don't. To be honest, doesn't even look like Khabib was that involved.
It's much of nothing really.
Yeah, but Khabib's dad, I can never say his name, so I'm going to say Khabib's dad. He put up a post on social media and allegedly said that he wanted them to fight, but apparently whoever translated it didn't actually say that. It just said like, they had this beef or whatever. But Javier Mendez did type underneath it and say they should settle it in the cage. Do you have any interest in seeing Nate Diaz fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov?
I'm quite interested in just seeing Nate fight. But,
yeah, me too.
At the minute, not really against Khabib. I think he should be 3 fights away from a title fight. He hasn't fought in almost 3 years. Fucking fight, man. Stop talking.
Yeah. The thing is, like that is like, to me, I don't know why I said like so much, but that seems like one of the most uncompetitive fights that we'd see in that division. Like, I'm a big fan of Nate Diaz. I really am. But him against Khabib seems like a nightmare matchup.
He lost his last fight as well.
Yeah, I know.
He's coming off a loss. Was that? October. Okay, I'm going to have a little guess. October 2016.
Let me check that now.
Can you check that?
Yeah, we'll check it.
Yeah. It was McGregor. I know.
That's hilarious. Like, when you said 2016 to me, I was like, no. August 2016. So even earlier.
Okay.
August 2016.
It literally is almost 3 years. 2 years and 11 months. That's insane.
That's mad. He is matched to fight Anthony Pettis, which I'm a big fan of. That's a great fight at UFC 141. So
241.
241. 141. Imagine that. Jesus, that was probably when he fought last. Was it UFC 141? Yeah. So very interested in seeing the Anthony Pettis fight, but I've no interest in seeing him fight Khabib.
Not really.
It'd be a mauling.
Yeah, Khabib just.
I want to take them down. I want to smell them. Do you hear Khabib? I want to smell them. I want to smash them.
Khabib's a sicko, man.
He's a monster. But yeah, let's swiftly move on from that. Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya, the title unifier, which we expected, is set to headline UFC 243 on October 5th. So apparently a lot of people were asking, a lot of journalists and media guys were saying, where's the event? There's still no location.
Send me location.
Still no location. And then it was like, we don't have it, whatever. Apparently, according to what I read, is that there's a stadium being built in Melbourne. It's still under construction, so they're not sure if it's actually going to be ready for the event. So that's why they haven't announced it. So I think they need to get confirmation on that.
Yeah.
But it's also called a Marvel Stadium. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
We knew this fight was going to happen, but like, it's actually here. It's going to happen.
Fight.
You like it?
I was listening to Luke Thomas's post-fight show after the UFC 239. It's really good listen. It's an hour and 20 minutes long.
I'll listen.
It's a really good listen. Luke. He talks how he was speaking to Eugene Bellman, who is the head coach at City Kickboxing. And you know, the USA have a reputation for wrestling, the Brazilians for jiu-jitsu, grappling and all that stuff. So they are hotbeds where you go
Irish for throwing dollies.
Yeah, they are hotbeds where you go to for that stuff. Eugene was telling Luke Thomas how we're not claiming to be the best at grappling, we're not claiming to be the best at wrestling. We can hold our own, but what we're the best at is feinting. And in his opinion, feinting is the key to everything. We saw it with the Amanda Holly fight. Yeah. In his opinion, feinting is the key to everything, and he reckons his guys are the best in the world at it.
So specific. I love that.
It is very specific.
I love that.
But it's one when you think about it, if you can make a guy faint and buy into your feints, you can make him do whatever you want.
100%.
You can put him on a string and you can make him do whatever you want.
And feints, like, not only, like, people, when you say feinting, people think of striking, but it's not really. Like, if you feint a jab and then shoot for a takedown, that's effective.
Yeah.
Or if you feint a right overhand and go for a single leg or something like that, that's effective.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I just love how specific that is. Like,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And I was already excited for this fight because I'm a big Adesanya fan, and Whittaker is a fucking monster.
He's a gent as well.
He is a monster. I was excited for this fight, and then I was thinking about Adesanya after. I was like, yeah, I can see that. No early picks yet. I have seen the early prices. The early prices are 8 to 11 on Robert Whittaker and 11 to 10 on Adesanya.
Oh, nice.
I probably would have expected Whittaker a slightly bigger favourite, to be honest.
Would you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Just given who he's fought previously, 2 wins over Yoel Romero. Close, but yeah. Fucking brilliant fight.
I love the fight. I don't want to put the jinx on it. I'm just saying that Robert Whittaker has had problems with injuries. Just please don't get injured or anything like that.
I would imagine they will have a backup plan.
I hope so. But like, I don't care about the backup plan. I want this fight to happen.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
And the stadium thing as well, again, you'd imagine they have a venue.
Yeah. They probably have something else. I just think that they want to put this in Australia, and that's probably the only venue they really want to do in Australia. So they probably have something else as well. But the thing I like about this fight as well is that we have seen Adesanya now go through a really tough fight where he had to dig deep. And I'm glad that happened before the Robert Whittaker fight, because with Robert Whittaker, we know what he can do in a fight like that. We saw it against Yoel Romero. So the fact that Adesanya has all these skills, and we know if he does get hit and he gets hurt, he will be able to stay in there.
He has a chin.
This could be a really phenomenal fight.
And he came out in that 5th round against Kelvin, and he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, did you see the pick as well?
Yeah, I did. The 5th round, he came out 2-2 on the scorecards, probably, was it? I can't remember the fight.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was.
He came out and he put in his best round of the fight.
Yeah.
Dropped him like 4 times. Phenomenal. So yeah, absolutely buzzing for this fight. I'd love to be at it in Australia. I'd say the atmosphere will be phenomenal.
Yeah. Local boys as well, not far from, so I'm sure they'll all have their support. Obviously, Whittaker will be the fan favourite there, but you know, Adesanya will bring his support. And man, if Adesanya can win that fight, he could be a huge star. And if Robert Whittaker can beat Adesanya and can stay healthy, another guy who's like he's like GSP in a way, where he's just an absolute gentleman, killer in the cage. Killer in the cage. That sounds like a fucking rap name, doesn't it?
Killer in the cage.
Oh my god. Someone remix that, please. But yeah, it's a phenomenal fight. Speaking of UFC 243, that actually culminates a run of, in my opinion, a really good run of UFC main event pay-per-views.
Brilliant.
Or pay-per-view main events. We can go through the cards a little bit and see if we actually think the cards are great. But if you look at the fights themselves, or the main events, you have UFC 240 headlined by Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. UFC 241 headlined by Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. UFC 242 headlined by Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier. Then of course, as we were talking about, it's Adesanya and Robert Whittaker in 243.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that run of main events.
Fantastic run of main events. We do know as well that the Khabib Poirier one is going to be pay-per-view for us here in the Ireland and the UK.
What they're doing.
Shit show that. We spoke about that.
Unless it's done terrible. But
yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
but yeah, we've spoken enough about that. I don't really want to get into it too much anymore.
No, fuck BT. We're never going to get a job in BT now. But yeah, I like the main events. Let's quickly go through the cards. Not
2 pay-per-views this month actually as well. July.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Chris Cyborg, Felicia Spencer. Looking down the card, they're the 2 best fights in the card.
Meh.
That's
why this one, I'm getting into it again because I'm pissed off about it, but that's why this one's not pay-per-view for us here.
Exactly, yeah.
But that one's kind of snuck up on me. I forgot how close that was, Holloway and Edgar.
Probably be talking about that next week or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this makes sense then. UFC 241. This is the one that's going to be, is that going to be pay-per-view? 241?
No,
it's not.
241. 242 going to be pay-per-view.
Okay, so 241 has Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic, Pettis, Nate Diaz, Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa. Ooh, that's going to be pay-per-view now. If they're going to be going by quality.
Hasn't been confirmed to be pay-per-view. I know the Abu Dhabi one has been confirmed.
Let's see. Well, don't do it, but let's see. And then 242, which is the Abu Dhabi card. That is obviously Khabib and Poirier, big fight. Barbosa, Felder, Makhachev, Davy Ramos, Curtis Blades. Like, aside from the Paul Felder, well, I think the Davy Ramos, Islam Makhachev is a good fight. Edson Barbosa, Paul Felder is a really good fight. And then, of course, the main event's a great fight.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like, if I was BT, I'd be putting 241 on pay-per-view. But then again, Cormier, Miocic, one didn't do great pay-per-view numbers, so that's probably why.
It's a fantastic run of main events, to be fair to the UFC.
Yeah. But the cards as a whole,
yeah, it's not.
Not too bad.
All
right. Bellator announced a rake of fights as well for Bellator's return to Dublin in September. We'll probably be attending. Don't really want to cover it, so we'll not cover it here, but I mean cover it in person. So I'll probably just go have a few pints.
Yeah, lots of pints.
Yeah. It looks like Gallagher is going to main event it against Cal Eleanor. Kind of an unknown more unknown guy than a lot of people probably would have hoped. But good fight. Peter Queally, Ryan Scope is on the card. That's a really good fight. Franz Malambo on the card against Dominic Wooden. It's a really fun fight as well. Lee Chadwick, Carl Moore, Phil Peter, Keith McKay, Richie Smullen, Sean Tobin, Dylan Logan, Alan Gustav, and Konstantin Gunnersk. Can't say that against Ian Coughlin.
Liam McCourt was added to the card as well
She's
against a British fighter.
Yeah. So as expected, a lot of Irish fighters on it, which is fine for the crowd there. I'm not sure what that's going to do outside of Ireland. Last time we went, good crack.
Yeah, very good atmosphere.
Yeah. But here's what I feel about these type of things. I'd love to see Bellator put on like kind of a star on the main event. But when we went to see Bellator, whatever it was, we actually went to cover it. And King Mo against Ishii. Satoshi Ishii was the main event, and everybody cleared out. Gallagher was the co-main event. Everybody cleared out for that, and Mo was at the time one of their bigger stars, probably top 5. So Bellator obviously seeing that, they decided, well, the people in the crowd, where they're making their money on these type of events, and want the local guys there. So
it is very much Bellator do seem to differentiate the regional cards and the USA cards, and this is very much, it's part of that European series. It's very much a regional tailored card. When you look at the fights,
no problem with it.
We hope to see Will Fleury added to the card as well.
Yeah, we hope so. Yeah, absolutely. Will fucking Fleury. So yeah, that's the main topics I wanted to discuss today, or at least the ones that we have there. But was there any other news that popped out to you? Because I thought there was a few bits and pieces that we can go through.
So yeah, belt away.
Yeah, I have some here. Vicente Luque versus Mike Perry is expected to headline UFC Uruguay. Man, that's a fun fight. Vicente Luque has been on a good run. Mike Perry is a wild man. I cannot wait to see that. Edson Barbosa and Paul Felder too, which we just discussed, was added to that. John Lineker. We didn't get to talk about this last week.
No.
John Lineker was released by the UFC in a move that a lot of people thought was surprising. What was your thoughts when you saw it?
Surprising but not surprising.
Yeah. Was it like an initial surprise, and then when you thought about it?
Yeah. I think he's had a lot of trouble making weight. He's not a guy who's necessarily played ball with the UFC. He's not always been the most company orientated man. Has some good wins.
It's fun.
Yeah, he's a fun fighter. I think he'll get picked up fairly quickly. But yeah, I think he just was a guy who didn't necessarily play ball with the UFC. High brass. Didn't always make weight. Couldn't be guaranteed to make weight. Couldn't be guaranteed to show up. So yeah, I get it from that sense.
Dana White said 2 days ago, I think it was just before the event on the weekend, that the guy wasn't being professional. So maybe he was turning down fights, or maybe it was just a mixture of him missing weight a lot and pulling out fights, which I understand, you know. It's a shame, but I'll be interested in see if Bellator or something pick him up. It's very, very fun.
Horiguchi.
Oh, man, fun.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm glad this happened now. Let's do it. Luke Thomas announced today that he has signed with Showtime. Yeah. I don't think anybody was expecting that move.
No. I love Luke Thomas. I'm a little bit disappointed with that.
Yeah. You were hoping for the Athletic.
Yeah, we signed up to the Athletic. I was hoping for that, but I felt like we got a lot more of Luke Thomas when he was with MMA fighting.
Yeah.
I feel like now I'll get a bit less of him.
Yeah.
He'll still continue to do his YouTube stuff, but Showtime don't really cover a lot of MMA.
They must be getting into it now.
I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
They have Schaub doing below the belt and a couple of other things. They have Schaub on the boxing, which is crap because he doesn't know a thing about it. I'd like to.
But he's on a draw. He's on a draw, bro.
Yeah, I'd like to see Luke cover some boxing technically, because I think his technical breakdowns are phenomenal.
They're very, very good. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
That's the thing. They must be getting into MMA, because like that's a good get for Showtime for MMA. It seems like they have some morning show called Morning Combat with a K, so you know it's cool with a K. It's a little joke for you there. So I'll be interested to see what happens there. I'm a big fan of Luke Thomas. It also says, by the way, Morning Combat, and it's what's your man's name? Brian Campbell, who's sometimes on the MMA beat. It's him and Luke Thomas presenting this thing, whatever show it's gonna be.
Is it a daily show?
It seems like it. Maybe it's gonna be like 5 days a week or something. But it says presented by Below the Belt, and that's Brendan Schaub's show. So I wonder how that works. I wonder if they're just using that as the brand because it's known.
Yeah. Yeah, they could be starting their MMA coverage could be Below the Belt, and then you have the different shows. You have Food Truck Diaries with Brendan Schaub.
Yeah.
You could have, what is it called? Morning Combat with a K.
Morning Combat with a K.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, you should have added, I don't know, morning with a what else can you use? You can't use anything else there. Anyway, I'll watch that because I'm a fan of Luke Thomas.
Where can we get that though?
I've no idea. Oh, it says live stream. Live stream coming soon, so hopefully it'll be just a free to air thing.
Okay, so
maybe on Showtime.
Probably on YouTube as well then. Okay, cool.
Hopefully they put some money into it and we get to see...
Luke actually did say as well on this show, and the post-fight show he did, when he gets to 100,000 subscribers, he'll start a podcast.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sweet. Deadly. I'll be looking forward to that, Luke. And we'll get you back on the show hopefully soon. We had that on once, and then you had to go and do the MMA hour, and it was clashing with our time, so you might be free now.
Yeah.
We'll get you.
Hopefully.
He did say that his show on Sirius XM will continue, but his time at MMA Fighting Vox Media has come to a close. Was there anything else you saw in the news?
Nothing popping out to me at the minute. I definitely had stuff, but I can't just remember at the minute.
Cool. Well, we'll leave it there for the news. If we did miss anything, let us know in the comments below what news we missed and what we should have talked about, because something might break from now until when this gets released. But thanks for listening, and let's move on to a UFC card that goes down this weekend. It's actually a sneaky good card, I think. It's not bad. So let's talk about the fights. UFC on ESPN Plus 13 goes down this weekend, and it is Jermaine the Randamie versus Aspen Ladd in the main event. We're going to start at the main event, but we're going to go down through the full main card and give our picks for our under the radar fights on the prelims. We're going to break these fights down and give our predictions. So, as I said, we're going to start with the main event. There was a little bit of controversy when this was announced. A lot of people didn't think this fight was really up to scratch for the main event of an ESPN Plus card. But they are two highly ranked fighters in their division. Where do you fall on this debate?
Personally, no, I don't think it's a good main event for ESPN Plus. I've only sort of first looked at this card this morning.
Yeah.
It's actually a really solid card. It's a very solid card. It's a tough main event to promote, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a good fight. It's a solid card. It's a tough main event to promote.
Yeah, I think it's a really good fight for hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Not really something that's going to bring people in. But I suppose with ESPN Plus, like, they want people to subscribe. They want new customers to come in. But I guess their 13th event, they can afford to have something a bit more hardcore-y, if that's if that's a word. So I do like the fight though itself. I think it's a fairly good fight. If you can get the rankings up there on UFC.com, I would appreciate that when you get a chance. But I know they're really highly ranked, because on Tapology, at bantamweight, Aspen Ladd is ranked number 2, and Jermaine the Randamie is ranked number 1. So they definitely are highly ranked. And it's an interesting clash of styles, because with Aspen Ladd, you have a girl who's a good striker, but she's very basic, and she does the basics well, but she isn't very dynamic. And with Jermaine the Randamie, again, similar, she does the basics very well, but she's way more experienced and she has more tricks up her sleeve. But then you have to look at the grappling, and you have to look at what Aspen Ladd has managed to do against most of the girls she's fought. And she had trouble in her last fight, I thought. I thought on the feet, she was having a little bit of trouble at range, and that could be a problem in this fight. But once she got it to the floor, she's like a killer down there. She's an absolute killer. Her ground and pound is insane for women's MMA in general. I don't think you really see what she can do. When she lands strikes on the ground and she screams, it's crazy, and it's very effective. So I think the clash of styles is interesting, and I do like the fight. And what's your thoughts on the fight itself? Not as a main event, but just as a stylistic fight.
I think it's interesting. Jermaine the Randamie is in a position as well. If she loses, she's on a good win streak. She's on a 4-fight win streak. She's beat, well, that's going back to 2015, that 4 fights. Yeah. I mean, the win against Holly was contentious at best.
Yeah, she probably lost that.
Raquel Pennington, November last year. Yeah. Beat her. She gets a win over Aspen. I'm just looking at the rankings now on the UFC. And Jermaine is number 1. She's gone up 2 places because Holly lost, obviously. Yeah. And then Aspen Ladd is number 4. So I suppose realistically, it's a number 1 contender fight, isn't it?
I think so. And with Jermaine, if you remember, what happened with her was she became the champ at 145. Yeah. The first champ.
By default.
Yeah, well, she beat Holly in a weird fight that she probably, lost. And there was like a couple of eye pokes and like, I think there was eye pokes, but there was a few shots after the bell anyway. And I thought she lost that fight. But then Chris Cyborg was basically in contention to fight, And Jermaine the Randamie said, I don't want to fight her. She takes too many drugs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back down to 135, which is bizarre for a fighter to give up their title, especially because in the UFC, if you're a champion, from all the reports that I've seen, you make a lot more money. And it is a substantial amount of money. Now, I know a lot of that comes on pay-per-view, and I'm not sure how many pay-per-views a Jermaine the Randamie fight would actually sell. But if she can get on the undercard of a big event as a champion, that's substantial. So it's a little bit curious that she would drop a title. Apparently because she doesn't want to fight somebody because they take drugs.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, she has a loss to Amanda on her record as well.
Yeah.
Back in 2013. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know, do I want to see her and Amanda again?
Yeah, I'm not sure either, if I'm honest. But I would like to see Aspen Ladd get a title fight. Not right away, down the line, I think, because Aspen Ladd, I'm very high on her. Even back in Invicta, when I watched her, I thought she was very, very good. And she has two wins over Sijara Eubanks now. That last one I thought was a good fight for her because, as I said, in the first round she had a bit of trouble, but once she started getting takedowns, once she started getting comfortable, she looked really good. This is a real experience versus, fresh upcoming fighter. I don't really like Aspen Ladd if it stays standing, because I think Aspen Ladd is that plodding striker who, she can take a shot and she does come forward, but she doesn't really have great footwork, whereas Jermaine could start, landing shots from the outside, especially with her leg kicks and her Muay Thai. She's really excellent from out there. So I think if it stays on the feet, I think Aspen Ladd could be in a bit of trouble. But I just think Aspen Ladd is so aggressive, so tenacious that she'll get some takedowns, get it to the floor. And I like Aspen Ladd by maybe a finish on the floor, ground and pound, but probably more likely a decision. So I'm going to go decision for Aspen Ladd. Not hugely confident on it, but I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, the odds are interesting on this one. Jermaine the Randamie is a 6-5 underdog.
Okay.
That's okay if you fancy Jermaine to actually impose yourself on Aspen Ladd and take over the fight with her Muay Thai and her striking. Yeah. That's not bad.
That isn't bad, yeah.
But then Aspen Ladd 8-13, if you like her to be aggressive as you say, and then take it to the ground, and it's probably going that way. I'm struggling with a pick on that one. Yeah,
it's the reach is a big one as well. There's a big reach disadvantage for Aspen Ladd. It's 72.5 inches to 66 in favour of the Randamie, and she does fight well at range. And Aspen Ladd does have trouble closing the distance sometimes. She can do it, and that's her game. She closes distance and gets takedowns. So it's an interesting one. If you do fancy the Randamie here, it's definitely a good bet. But I do like Ladd.
Yeah, I'll take Aspen Ladd as well, but not massively confident. I think it could potentially be a bit of a coming out party for her, though. You never know. Yeah.
I also think there's a bit of me wanting her to win.
Yeah.
That's playing into this. But I like the fight. It's good.
I think it's probably better for the division if Aspen Ladd wins.
100%. Yeah, 100%. The co-main event is the return of the California Kid, no longer a kid, Uriah Faber against Ricky Simon. This is an interesting one, I think, because I think when Uriah Faber was talking about a return and a comeback to MMA, a lot of people assumed, they're going to give him some kind of legend, maybe someone he's had some history with. But they're giving him this up-and-coming kid in Ricky Simon, who's been on a tear in the UFC and has looked really good. Do you read anything into that, or is it just this is the matchup that was ready, or do you read that into maybe they're trying to make a name off Uriah Faber's name?
Don't know. It's weird. I think Dillashaw was the fight to make. Then he went and popped for EPO.
As you do.
Yeah. Simon's on an 8-fight win streak. I'm just looking at it here. He had a split decision win on the Contender Series back in 2017. Yeah. Didn't get a contract. Because you can't be going to the judges on Contender Series.
Be doing that now.
Won 2 more fights, then got a guillotine choke win on a
Philly
on a Fight Night. Yeah,
excellent win.
He's on an 8-fight win streak. It's weird. It's weird matchmaking. I understand putting Faber on the card. It's Sacramento. It's his hometown. I'm not sure. Yeah,
I think it's a very, very weird matchup because like Uriah Faber, he's not going to look better than he did before. No. But he also didn't look bad when he left. He went off on a win. And it wasn't against somebody who was a world beater at that time. It was against Brad Pickett. Yeah. I love Brad Pickett, but Brad Pickett had to retire at that point. Yeah. So, he didn't look bad. He was still competing at the highest level against the best guys. He lost a decision to Jimmy Rivera. He lost a decision to Dominic Cruz, beat Brad Pickett after that. So, like, he wasn't on the worst run of his career, and I thought he went out a good time. I thought he went out, and I was like, excellent. Uriah Faber went out, not on a loss, looked good. Clearly isn't, his health isn't diminished from fighting. It doesn't seem.
No.
But I just don't see how coming back now, after, what, so that was 2016. So coming back, a good few years afterwards, how he's going to look better. I don't think he will look better. And he was losing to guys like Jimmy Rivera and, Ricky Simone. I think you can compare to someone like him, a newer type of fighter. So to be honest, I kind of like Ricky Simone here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Uriah Faber doesn't win the fight. I just think it's very difficult to pick Uriah Faber against an up-and-coming guy who's aggressive, who I think will want it more. I think he's a guy who has something to fight for. I don't know why Uriah Faber's coming back. Maybe it's just the love of the game. Some fighters are, you could probably say most fighters probably just love it. Yeah, they love it. It's their job. Like if someone told me I can't do my job anymore, I probably wouldn't like that. Although you never know. But you know what I mean. If someone told me I couldn't do what I loved, or if I just walked away and I still felt like I could do it, I understand why someone would come back. But I just don't know competitively. I don't see him looking better than he did before. And even if he looked exactly the same, I think Ricky Simone has a decent shot because he's a good fighter. So with all that time off and all that said, I'm going to go with Ricky Simone to win this fight. Again, it's one that could go either way, and I'm not too sure.
Yeah, the momentum is very much with Simone. He's on that 8-fight win streak. He's 3-10 favourite, so quite a large favourite. 11-5 on Uriah, if you like that.
Uriah Faber is 40.
Yeah.
And his nickname is still a California kid.
I'm struggling to pick Uriah here. Like all that time off, he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights before he retired.
Yeah. Against the best competition, to be fair. Well,
it was,
apart from Brad
some
Pickett.
of them it was Dominic Cruz, Frank Yeager were in there losses, so some good opposition, but
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
He's out of the ring or out of the octagon. I'm struggling to pick him.
Yeah. And if you're looking at the
what's topology saying?
Reach and all that, it's not too far off. So Uriah is usually reach wise he's usually on the lower end, but it's not too far. It's like 3 inches in it.
The topology picks for this one are 75% Simone and 25% Faber.
Wow, I thought that would have went either way. Interesting. I thought I was being a hipster picking Simone there for a second.
No,
obviously not.
No.
We didn't check the topology for Aspen Lad, did we?
No,
check that real quick. Lad 63, the Randamie in 37. That one kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Next up, Josh Emmett, another hometown boy, or at least home trained boy, against Mirsad Bektic. Probably the second best, apart from the main event, second best match fight on the card in my opinion. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Looking forward to seeing Josh Emmett.
Yeah,
because he looked really good when he came back from injury.
Yeah.
Then took a loss. Am I right? Yeah. And he's a slight underdog on this one. He's 5-4. And Bektic is 4-7. And Topology is telling me that 62% of people think Bektic will win and 38% Emmett.
Yeah, so I'm very torn on this one. I think it's a well-matched fight.
Yeah.
So obviously his last fight, Emmett against Michael Johnson,
I
thought he was losing that fight up until he won it in the end. It was a big shot that he landed in 4:14 of round number 3. And I thought Michael Johnson was controlling that fight. And I think Bektic can do a similar thing in this fight. I think he can control it. The best thing that Bektic can do is he gets takedowns, and he gets them a lot. But Josh Emmett has a great wrestling background as well, and generally isn't taken down. So I wonder if this stays on the feet, how it will look, because Mirsad, and I know Mirsad because I'm fucking his name up, he has good striking, but he is vulnerable there. You saw with the Darren Elkins fight where Darren Elkins had that crazy comeback against him. He can be vulnerable there. But if you look at his record, he has some great wins there, and he was very dominant up until then. I'm just not sure what happens if this goes to the distance, because Mirsad is very, very difficult to beat over 3 rounds. I thought Emmett in the Johnson fight, he was a slicker striker, definitely. I just thought he was losing that fight until he landed that big overhand right. But then he always has that ace in the pocket, he always has that big right hand. So, this could easily be a card where I go, 0-5 on my picks. I understand that. I'm gonna go with Mirsad to win this fight. I'm gonna go by decision.
Yeah, I remember that Johnson fight now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emmett was losing it until he won it.
Definitely losing it. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a really tough fight to pick this one.
It's a really well matched one.
Yeah.
And this is what I say, it's a really solid fight. Not going to attract a lot of attention either, probably not outside of the hardcore.
No.
But yeah, a really well matched fight. I want to take Emmett. I'll take Emmett, I think. But yeah, not overly confident.
I'll be interested to see the odds on this because I have the Tapology picks.
Yeah.
And it's 62% Bektik, 38% Emmett.
Yeah.
I feel like the odds are probably a little bit closer, but maybe not.
Yeah, so Bektic is 4-7 and Josh Emmett is 5-4.
Yeah,
so pretty much a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Interesting. I like that fight a lot. That's one of my favourite fights on the card for sure. Next up is Carl Robertson against Wellington Turman. Carl Robertson is a fun fighter. I'm a big fan of the way this guy fights. Baby K is his nickname.
Great nickname.
Great nickname. But yeah, he's an interesting fighter. He has some losses on his record against Glover Teixeira and Cesar Ferreira. Kind of the older statesman, or the elder statesman of the division. But he's coming up against a guy here who isn't really. He's a debutant in the UFC, fought for Future FC. He likes to submit people. Carl Robertson has been susceptible to submissions, specifically arm triangles from both Teixeira and Ferreira. So if Turman can get the takedowns going, I think it's a good fight for him. But I really do like Carl Robertson on the feet. I think if he can keep it there, he looks really good. I think he made some mistakes against Glover Teixeira. I actually picked Glover in that fight, and I know a lot of people were on the Robertson hype train. Maybe, hype train's the wrong word, but I know a lot of people were on Robertson in that fight. But I'm going to go with Robertson to bounce back in this one. It's a debut for Turman. He does look good. Haven't seen too much of him. But the guys he's beaten, even though they're on regional promotion, sometimes, they get matched very poorly. But he fought in Brave a good few fights ago. And he's generally fought good guys like 13-3, 12-3, 17-4. So these aren't really bums, not saying they beat the best guys, but at least he has a good winning record. So he looks like a good fighter. But I'm going to go with Robertson. I like the way he fights. He's entertaining. But if it does hit the floor, he could be in trouble because he seems to make a lot of mistakes there. Yeah,
I quite like Turman in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is very susceptible to the submissions, Robertson, and I think needs to keep it on the standing.
Yeah.
Not sure whether he can. And as you were saying, he does have some very good wins, Turman, on regional promotions.
Yeah.
A couple of submissions in there as well. He's on a 4-fight win streak. So yeah, I'm going to take Turman in this one.
Nice. Good pick. Up next is Montanche Cesar Ferreira against Marvin Vettori. Again, this is a really fun fight. With Cesar Ferreira, he came off the Tough Brazil show, I believe. Looked good. He was a protege of Vitor Belfort, from what I know, and he has a capoeira background, but he does seem to be a little bit chinny in his career. On the other hand, you have Marvin Vettori, who, if you remember Marvin Vettori, let me just make sure and verify I'm talking about the right guy, because that would be embarrassing. Yes, I'm talking about the right guy. When he fought Israel Adesanya, and he's an absolute crazy gentleman, he was coming forward saying, hit me, and Adesanya just couldn't put him away. And it was a split decision in the end. I thought Adesanya won the fight. Not handily, it was a tough fight, but I thought he definitely took the judges' scorecards, or should have. But Marvin Vettori is a guy who won't go away. He's going to keep coming forward, lands big shots, and I don't know how well Montanche is going to deal with that, because he hasn't dealt with that in the past very well. He's the type of guy who gets wobbled quite a lot, and he does fall back on his wrestling and his grappling when he does that. But sometimes, that can be a problem. And I think it's going to be a problem here. I like Marvin Vettori here. I just think he's a little bit too tough for Ferreira. But if you're looking at, who both guys have beaten, I think you should have Ferreira as the favourite. But I do like, style-wise, I like Vettori here.
Yeah, Ferreira isn't the favourite.
Is he not?
No, he's not. He's 6-5 underdog, so quite a small underdog. And then Vettori is 8-13. But I think, I agree with everything you've said, and I think Vettori is a fair favourite in this one, and I like him as well.
I like that.
He's fought the higher quality opposition.
Yeah.
Is there
Is there anything on the prelims that you really like?
Darren Elkins was on the prelims as well. Andre Fili against Shimon Moraes. Juliana Pena against Nico Montano was a fun fight.
Yeah, there's some. It's a real hardcore card, I think.
Yeah,
like this card gets me excited a little bit. Especially like if you look at that Andre Fili against Shimon Moraes, that's a great fight. That is a really, really well matched fight. Andre Fili is looking really good lately. Shimon Moraes is a bit of a prospect. Has some problems, but a bit of a prospect. Pena coming back against Montano. Be interesting to see how Montano performs. She obviously has a storied background. And Darren Elkins against Ryan Hall. Say what you will about Ryan Hall. He's a tough guy to beat.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to see what happens in this because Darren Elkins usually grapples. Ryan Hall will welcome that grappling, so I'm very intrigued to see what happens in that fight.
It's a very solid card, so yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm going to watch. But let's move on to the part of the show where we give Sean some fights to watch. He comes back and grades them and tells us how fun they were, and then we give him another fight and we do it all again. Educating young Sean. So, young Sean, I gave you one fight last week because Noel still isn't here. It was a classic fight from UFC 139. It was Mauricio Shogun Hua versus Dan Hollywood Henderson. Bet you didn't know that was his nickname at one time.
That was the H-bomb, wasn't it?
The H-bomb, yeah. That was his specialty move if he was a pro wrestler. But yeah, we gave you this fight. It was their first fight, as I said, back in UFC 239, which was in 2011. I feel like this was a fight down your alleyway with something missing. Yeah,
the only thing missing was a bit more blood, but fuck me, what a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
An absolute war. Both lads were blown out of their arse after the second round.
Yeah.
And like epitomises what fighting is about, as in how they both lasted 5 rounds is insane. There was actually a part in the fight where I was shouting for the ref to stop it, where Henderson was unloading on Shogun.
Yeah.
You said it before, just off air. Plenty of blood, head trauma in this one.
Loads of head trauma.
There was one part where Henderson landed a right overhand and then an uppercut. It was the uppercut was insane. He just bounced his head back. It was sick. First I'd seen the Shogun as well. Like, wow.
Yeah, it was. That's crazy. First you've seen of Shogun. It's a great introduction to Shogun. It's weird because it's a bit later in his career. He's had so many good fights beforehand.
Yeah.
As had Henderson. So it's kind of mad that back in 2011. I know these are still Shogun's still fighting and Hendo. Only retired recently enough, but it's mad that they put on such a good performance in 2011, even though they've been fighting for so long, especially Hendo.
Henderson was 41 at the time of that fight because they put the graphic up, and because I remember him obviously fighting Bisping, and I was like, what the fuck? What age is he when he fought Bisping?
Yeah, I know. 50. No, he wasn't
crazy.
Crazy fight though.
Hell of a fight. I didn't even score it. Rogan put it perfectly at the end. He was like, "Man, I can't remember what happened in the first round. This fight was insane."
Yeah, it was one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Fun fact: I remember watching this in old host of the old show we used to do, obviously Fight Talk. I was watching it in Carl's house.
Yeah.
And his parents were there, and they were asleep. So they come in and they were like, "So yeah, you're watching the fights. Just try not to be too loud."
Yeah.
And this fight happens. So you can imagine me and Carl, like inside we were screaming, but outside we were kind of trying to keep it in. But yeah, crazy fight. So how many? So out of 5 championship rounds, what do you give this fight?
This one broke the scale.
This one gets. Jeez, imagine if there was blood in it.
Yeah, this one gets like a 6. I give it a 6 or something. But yeah, brilliant.
6 out of 5. Breaking the rules of mathematics here on a few good fights. So yeah, we better give you a fight as well for next week so you can review it. Don't worry. No messing there. So a fight I'm going to give you is fighters that you've seen before, I think. Especially one. It's Donald Cerrone versus Benson Henderson 1. This is from WEC 43. Cerrone versus Henderson. Easy. This was 2009.
Okay. Am I right in saying they fought like 3 times or something?
I don't know if it's 3, but probably.
Yeah,
they definitely fought twice.
Because I remember when I was searching Benson for the Pettis fight, him and Cowboy, it was just kept popping up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they fought 3 times. Once in the UFC, 2 in WEC potentially. But yeah, good fight. This was one of my first WEC fights that I seen, and it was excellent. It's a really good one. So yeah, let's move on to Sean's weird news where we end the show.
First up this week, I have Israel Adesanya has been interviewed backstage. I think you've seen this. I think most people have. It's very funny, and he reacted basically live to Jorge Masvidal, or Cuban Jesus as he put it,
Street Jesus.
Yeah, Street Jesus knocking the fuck out of Ben Askren.
I'm being me at the end of the day. If you like me, you do. If you don't, fuck you. Facts. Oh! Wow! Let me see that. Fuck out of here. Fuck off. Wow. Nah. No.
Poor Aaron doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Ghetto Jesus.
Jesus, like a
Get oh Jesus.
Ghetto Jesus. No fucking way. That's the fastest knockout in UFC history, right?
Sure
In
is.
UFC history, is it?
I guess it's just you and Khabib now that are undefeated.
Fuck nah, bro. I don't, bro. Oh, I was like, I gotta get, nigga. Oh, nigga planked. He brought planking back.
He brought planking
He
back.
brought planking back. Wow, holy shit. Cuban Jesus just knocked out old, what's his name? Fuck. Fuck.
What's that B team
If you were
like
wondering
down
why
in there?
Israel Adesanya collapsed in the middle of our interview, there's your answer.
Shit.
BT
No, I
box
was like, I
office.
gotta get
I
back
was
for
just
the
looking
fight.
at
Maybe after the first
box
round, I'll
office
run back.
base. Like,
Yeah,
get
get
the
that
fuck
shit out of there.
Wow.
GTFO.
Cuban Jesus.
Cuban Jesus.
What the fuck? Faster than I. He came fast.
Oh,
Fuck.
someone
Wow.
cut that.
Wow. Let me see that. Look, replay. You ran at him. Oh, flying knee. Fuck off.
And then out of here.
Yeah, he's just
Brilliant.
gone.
Oh man, I wonder how far Aaron Bronstetter was in that interview for, because that sucks for him. You know, getting an interview with Israel Adesanya is a pretty big thing. You know, he's a big star now. And then that happens, amazing.
Yeah.
And it's cool to kind of get that. But
Well done, BT.
well done,
box
BT,
office.
just pushing their way in there. It's bad etiquette.
Dickheads.
Anyway, hilarious.
Next up, we have an edit I came across, done by, I'll give him a shout, Ray Rod 747 on Twitter. So,
Does that say Luka Dovikin?
yeah.
As in,
Taking his underhook, good job here. He's got double underhooks now.
With so much time being spent.
I don't see these guys really competing. They don't have the technique. They don't have the skills.
oh my god.
You there, you and me. We shouldn't be here. Stormcloaks the Empire wants. Taking his
That
underhook, good job here. He's
is
got
brilliant.
underhooks now.
Brilliant.
So much time being spent.
I don't see these guys really competing. They don't have the technique. They don't have the skills.
Whoever's listening, it's the Elder
You
Scrolls
there,
5
you and me. We shouldn't
Skyrim.
be here. It's the Stormcloaks the Empire wants.
That is brilliant. Pause that for 1 second.
Good job.
Love that game.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that game. Brilliant
Brilliant.
nerd.
Brilliant edit.
Brilliant. Oh, beautiful edit. Well done to that guy. I'm going to follow him on Twitter
Yeah.
after this. But love that game. So right into my wheelhouse. Great stuff. 10 out of 10 on that one.
This is my favourite one this week. So it's Jon Jones backstage after the fight. Obviously, he was wheeled out on a wheelchair because his legs got chopped up during the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, here's him on a wheelchair playing about. It's him with the baddest girl on the planet.
Oh.
Alright, I'll show you guys something cool real quick.
Nice. Nice. Brilliant.
Champ stuff.
Champ stuff. Bet he was back in that wheelchair after his night out. Stand.
Alright, I'll show you guys something cool real quick.
Wonder what he was on the night out.
Oh, Jesus. What wasn't he on the night out? That's what I'm going to say.
Skills, huh?
I like the black suit.
It looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's slick.
it's slick. It's simple. The only thing is, I'm not huge on the like. It's good because he's in Vegas, so it's really light. But myself, I'm not huge on that material. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
real light,
He's got
silky.
He's got the wide collar on the
Yeah.
suit as well. But
You
yeah.
can't have a hairy chest when you have that
Absolutely not.
that thing going on.
But yeah, that's it for this week.
Great stuff. That was good. I enjoyed that, especially the Skyrim one. But thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And as I said at the top of the show, all the new subscribers that we got from the last video from the prediction show, thanks for subscribing. Hopefully you watched this. Hopefully you watched the full show. And if you got here, congratulations, well done. I hope you enjoyed the format. And whoever hasn't subscribed just yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday.
So apparently if you press this button somewhere here, it subscribes and you get all the notifications for the show. So hit that button there.
You have to click the bell though to get the notifications
here.
down the bottom.
Make sure you hit it and they get the ringer things because Rob didn't know. So it's the button
Yeah.
there or there.
It's somewhere roughly around